When someone stays in your mind without any contact, what does it mean? Stoic wisdom. Sometimes a person continues to live in your mind long after they have left your life. There are no messages, no calls, no meetings. Maybe you drifted apart. Maybe the relationship ended, or maybe it never fully began. Yet your mind returns to them unexpectedly, persistently, almost quietly. Thoughts appear before sleep, when the mind softens. They return in the middle of the day, when your focus slips for a moment, and you ask yourself, why are they still in my head if they are no longer in my life? From a Stoic perspective, this is not a sign of destiny, not a hidden message from the universe, certainly not proof that your connection must continue. The Stoics did not romanticize thoughts and coincidences. They believed in something else, the structure of the human mind and its logic. The mind clings not to the person, but to what they represent. Epictetus taught that the mind returns to whatever it considers important, whether it's a person, a fear, a hope, or a memory. We don't choose our intrusive thoughts, but we can understand why they appear. To the Stoics, persistent thoughts about someone are not a sign of attachment to them, but a sign of attachment to the meaning they carry. A person can become a symbol of hope, a symbol of the unattainable, a symbol of a past left unresolved, a symbol of loss not yet accepted, a symbol of love that never unfolded, a symbol of pain you haven't acknowledged, a symbol of the part of yourself you're trying to understand. So when someone appears in your mind again and again, the Stoics would not say, "This person is important for your future." They would say, "This person is important for understanding yourself." Marcus Aurelius, "The mind becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Marcus Aurelius wrote that our soul becomes the color of the thoughts we allow to occupy it. What stays in your mind shapes your character. That does not mean you must push these thoughts away or feel ashamed of them, but it does mean that you should look closer at why they remain. You are not thinking about the person. You are thinking about the moment they symbolize, about the part of you that is still searching for clarity, about the emotion that remains unfinished. Stoicism teaches that emotions are not the enemy. Misunderstanding them is. So when someone stays in your mind without any connection, it reveals an inner process that has not yet reached completion, not a relationship that needs revival. Thoughts arise from what has not yet been accepted. Most recurring thoughts come from something you haven't fully accepted. The Stoics called this resistance to reality, the refusal to acknowledge what is. This could be the lack of acceptance of a breakup, the lack of acceptance of loneliness, the lack of acceptance of your own mistake, the lack of acceptance of your vulnerability, or the fact that something meaningful ended without closure. Stoicism says, one suffers not from feeling, but from fleeing what they feel. So when a person appears in your mind, the Stoic approach is not to suppress the thought, not to distract yourself, not to deny it, but to look directly at its cause. Observe yourself, not the image of the person. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it." The same applies to thoughts about someone. What matters is not the person, and not the absence of contact, but what your mind does with their image. Your mind returns to the memory because it triggers an emotion. And the Stoic's task is not to reject the emotion, but to understand its source. If the thought brings joy, what in you is seeking that joy? If it brings pain, what exactly hurts? If it brings anxiety, what are you afraid of? If it brings longing, what inside you feels empty? These questions are the key to freedom. Stoic freedom means freedom from forced interpretation. A person is not unfree because they feel. They are unfree because they let external objects dictate their inner world. Stoics believe that you are not free as long as your mind is controlled by things outside yourself, including the image of another person. You cannot control other people. You cannot rewrite the past. You cannot force a connection. But you can control the meaning you assign to what happened. When someone stays in your mind, it simply means that the meaning of that memory has not yet been fully formed. Ask yourself 3 Stoic questions. Is it the person I keep thinking about, or the feeling? Often we assume it's about them. But most of the time, it's about the emotional state we experienced near them. Does this thought influence my present life? If yes, you have allowed the past to take power over your present. Stoicism teaches bringing your focus back to what exists now. What can I control at this moment? You cannot control their choices, thoughts, or path, but you can control your interpretation, your reaction, and the meaning you create. The person is a symbol. The lesson is within you. Stoics always turned inward. They saw every emotion, every recurring thought as an opportunity for self-understanding, not as a message from another person. So if someone stays in your mind without any contact, it is not about them. It is about you. It means there is a question you haven't asked yet, an answer you haven't found, a feeling you haven't completed, an experience you haven't integrated. When someone persists in your mind, they become a mirror, but what is reflected is not them. It is you. And the Stoics would say, once you discover what your mind is trying to tell you through this image, the thoughts will fade on their own, not because you suppressed them, but because you understood them.